Hello, and welcome to the Imposter Syndrome Network Podcast, where everyone belongs. Even if you're not sure, we are. My name is Chris Grundeman. I'm here with my co-host, the unsinkable Zoe Rose. This is the Craig Rodgers episode, and it is going to be fantastic. Craig is a family guy, a platform guy, a solution architect, and a tech field day delegate. Hey, Craig, would you mind introducing yourself further to the Imposter Syndrome Network?
Hey Chris, how's it going? I am a solutions architect for a company in the tech sector that builds kind of monitoring systems for power networks, railways, biogas facilities, transformers. So we make products around that, and part of my job is just building the solutions to provide the back end for those products. So it's exciting. I suppose I've been working in IT from a young age, probably building computers about 30 years, something like that. And yeah, it's just, I was lucky that I was able to do something and make a career out of it.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, thanks for that. And I am curious, right? So the company you work for does a lot of, customer facing things, and you're a solution architect there, but it sounds like they do more kind of industrial type work. You're doing more kind of network and IT type work. So I'm just kind of curious, is that solution architect role, are you customer facing or is that more internal facing? Like, are you building solutions for teams inside of the company or directly for customers, or how does that work?
A bit of both. I wouldn't be customer facing in this role, certainly nowhere near as much as my previous experience in a managed service provider at architect level. This is more around building the back end systems and the integrations, the services that we need to do AI and ML work, in AWS, etc. So it's more around the infrastructure for the company.
Okay, great. So it's like actually architecting solutions versus what a lot of times solution architects do is talk about solutions or maybe draw them on paper, but not actually like physically doing it. So, or maybe you can give us a little bit more about the day-to-day of kind of what your job actually entails.
Okay, I'll go back a bit further then on that, just to lead into it. I always wanted to be kind of still hands-on as much as possible with the tech. And I worked for a managed service provider. They weren't massive. There was maybe a few hundred. We grew from I joined, there was maybe 60-something employees. We went to a few hundred. But at that size, I was always able to actually stay hands-on. I didn't really want to be the person racking and stacking it, but as soon as it was available on the network, I wanted to be in configuring, and it just gave me great exposure across storage, networks, firewalls, cloud, VMware, just kind of all of it. So going into Camlin, they needed somebody to architect and actually hands-on deploy. So it was a good fit.
Yeah, no, that's one point that a lot of people make. And I also made a distinction. My job is the more senior I got, the less hands-on I got. And it was almost like this emotional, I had to make the decision, am I okay with not touching the hardware? And it's a hard journey.
Indeed. You do distance yourself from it as you do go up the ladder a bit, and that's fair. But I've always just made the effort to try stay connected to it in some way. I think if you leave it and you don't use it, you're not going to remember it, and you want to be technical in what you're doing, certainly as an architect anyway.
Yeah, no, I remember when I used to be able to subnet without thinking, and then the other day I had to figure out a subnet and I'm like, rubbish. Oh, where's my pen? Yeah, it took me forever. But is there anything that you would consider maybe you'd want to change about your role, or are you actually quite happy? You sound happy.
I'm happy. I'm happy in my role. Obviously, once you hit the technical architect, you've got a major project focus. As you go to solution architect, it's somewhere in between technical and enterprise architect. You have to become a lot more commercially aware. Everything has a price tag, an ongoing support cost, and the business impact has to be considered. I get to do both here. I get to look at it from that high level and also muck in and build something. And going from an MSP to a group of companies, it's just that one group of companies. Those companies are my internal customers, if you will. So it's fun, and you get a bit of variety in systems, and it's good.
Yeah, no, for sure. I used to own an MSP, and I liked that world, but it is very different than the corporate, because you're the person called in to help things, right? So it's a very different perspective for sure.
Yeah, timesheets matter
I
because
know.
that's all revenue generating.
Yeah, and then figuring out like how much does this meeting cost? You know.
I've used that.
So the next one is your Twitter profile. It says platform guy.
Yeah, good.
What does that mean to you?
I think sometimes when you say the word platform, everybody thinks of a 4-node cluster or something. I view IT requirements, that's your whole platform. That's the servers that you have running, your virtualization layer, your whole network and how that extends out into cloud. I think that's your entire platform that you're building technology solutions on. And I'd just like to raise awareness and use the term platform guy, because I think you should be looking at it all, not just one area.
So it's almost like saying systems guy, but in a different way, right? It's like you're taking that whole kind of systems view, the whole platform view, looking at the entire enterprise, not just the switches or just the routers or just the storage arrays.
Exactly. Yeah, it's all one platform. It has to work together.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, well, from a security point of view, that makes sense to me because everything works together. And if I only consider security in one aspect, all of this is going to cause me major nightmares. So, no, I like that. I like how you define it.
I love security. It just makes my whole life so convenient. Every day, I'm thinking, thank God for security. It just makes everything easy,
I think you're the only person that has said that.
I jest. Security is not convenient.
What are you talking about? I'm amazing.
But it's essential. It's essential.
By definition, it's not convenient, right? I mean,
I will preface that with saying, done properly, it should not impact, and it should make it much easier and much more functional. However, our world does not seem to be designed in that way. So that's where the trouble starts.
The journey to that level is far from convenient. But the end goal is good, yeah. It's certainly better than the opposite.
We will agree on that.
Exactly. But it's a journey, though.
Speaking of getting there together, hopefully, Craig, obviously you've had a few different roles through your life. We've talked about a couple of them so far. I wonder if you could tell us, has there ever been a really great team you've been a part of? And maybe tell us a little bit about what made that team so great.
In the previous managed service provider I used to work for, it was originally Novasco, got bought over by Cancom, and it's now Telefonica Tech. We had a VDI team that we rolled out basically VDI systems, a lot of UCS, Pure Storage, great networking. Just everybody involved in those projects was just top of the game. Everybody from the PM to the Citrix architect to just service delivery managers, everybody was on the ball. And some of the solutions that went out were amazing. VDI deployments that had never went down, ever. Full application layer and just everything documented, everything processed, all the proactive checks, full one. It was just brilliant. Working on those types of solutions with those levels of, when you're working with people who are just amazing at their job as well, it just makes it so much easier, so much more fun. Some of those people were just on a different level. It was great.
Well, that's one thing that we touched on with a couple other people is that sense of trust, like that personal relationship. If you work with somebody and they do a good job, it's because you've seen them do a good job and you have that kind of personal relationship with them. It's not the tech itself. It's I know this person can do a great job, and so I have the confidence and I work together with them. I suppose what I'm trying to get to is, what would you say defines a great team? Is it that level of understanding between each other, or that level of trust, I suppose? Or maybe it's something else.
Trust is a big part of it. Team dynamics can be very strange. There's people who will look at something logically and assume, right, this is the logical course of action. Everybody else will agree on that. But that's not how people think. You'll not win over people by trying to use logic. You'll win them by getting them to believe in the bigger picture. It needs to be more of an essence than a fact sometimes. And if you have a team where, again, there's that common vision and common belief and people are aligned, then I think those are the best teams to work with. Definitely.
So to kind of maybe restate that, I think it sounds like, in your experience anyway, a great team has been a group of exceptional people that are brought together by some shared purpose. Are there other aspects to it, you think?
Well, they have to respect each other and be able to work together. There's the basic human principle that needs to work. But if they're being led by somebody who's keeping them involved, keeping them informed, not micromanaging, trusting them to do their tasks, just teams with a good dynamic, and it's one of those things you'll know it when you see it. Some things are very hard to define, but as soon as you see it, you know what it is. Teams are a bit like that.
Yeah, and also you know when it's not a good one as well. I've been in situations where it's micromanaging, and gosh, you could try as hard as you want. It's
so frustrating.
It's not going to get better. All right, well, let's go all the way back in the beginning. How did you get into IT or whatever you consider your role? Why did you start?
Started computers when I was very lucky. We didn't have much, but my parents got me an Amiga 500 for Christmas when I was about 10. And I had it in pieces, in bits, stripped down within about 6 weeks on the bed. I just started upgrading and then started building computers, maybe about 13 or 14, something like that. Selling computers to teachers in school and just doing that. And school, I'd always known I'd wanted to work in IT. I went up to maybe kind of A-level studies. Didn't go the degree route. I ended up managing a computer shop. I was about 18 or 19, and then wanted to get more into servers and RAID and Windows NT. It was coming. You had to install TCP/IP to get in the internet. You upgraded your modem from 28.8 up to 56K. Just got more and more into servers, but in Novell. Yeah, it's just anything I could get exposed to, I wanted to play with, really. Yeah, it was just a passion for IT. That's really where it all started.
Where do you think that comes from? Is that is there like an innate drive? Is it things being logical or things being, component based? Or, is there something, do you think it makes technology attractive to you?
It's building a solution for something and fixing a problem, solving a problem, seeing the outcome, seeing the end goal, building fit for purpose solutions. There's satisfaction from doing that well. If you do a good job and it works and it doesn't cause an outage, and it's you get a bit of pride over your solutions as well. It's just a general, just like building things with IT.
Yeah, no, I can relate to that. I aimed myself into IT mainly to get away from people. Eventually, I realized that I actually needed people, and actually that's how I was more effective. But the original goal was to get away from people and to hide in the, server closet, because it was not a data center, it was a closet. So no, that's I can relate to that one. You mentioned you didn't do the kind of college route. Did that affect your confidence? Like I know for me personally, I did get a certification or a college degree because I didn't have the confidence. I was an IT manager before and then got the degree to give myself the confidence of somebody else validating me. But do you ever feel like that kind of affected your confidence or ability to present yourself, I suppose?
Not from a confidence perspective, no. I never felt wary of saying that I don't have a degree. I ended up obviously going quite deep into certifications and got about 18 on LinkedIn of more, just haven't put them on. The certifications I found personally for me were more relevant for what I was doing at the time. I worked with colleagues with degrees, and some of them wouldn't have went as far. A degree is it's something, it does stand by you though. I've been frustrated by not having a degree because HR won't put your application through because you didn't spend 3 years looking at computers and get a bit of paper. Whereas you've all these certs, all this experience, and they literally will not even let you apply for a job. That has been frustrating a couple of times. But I never felt knocked by not having a degree.
No, that's good. That's good. Because when I do job, I recently put a ad out, I was hiring somebody, and I make it very clear that they're not required. But you're correct. There is a lot of situations where it's not the actual techs interviewing the techs. It's just getting past the HR process. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I've provided training to a lot of people with degrees. For me, if you know how to do it, you know how to do it. If a degree taught you how to do that, great, and you've got experience, great. but it's not the be all and end all of being able to do IT, you know. Certainly when you go the MSP route, the sheer variety of functions you have to be able to perform. And, you know, it's varied. You know, working in one company, you see one company, one network, one set of servers, you know, everything's done one way. You know, a decade of managed service providers and you get to see 1,000 companies. It's a lot more varied, which is fun.
Yeah. And they could have the same setup, but use it slightly different use case. And it's, whew.
Exactly, yeah. But the exposure is great. You know, managed service provider work is hard. Timesheets matter, your time's billable. But on the upside of that extra effort and investment in yourself, you do get a lot more exposure.
So speaking of the kind of degree versus certification, you know, not conflict, but you know, that pairing of things you can have with your name on them that say you're smart. You've gone down the certification path. You have a ton of certifications, and I assume a lot of that comes from maybe partnership requirements at MSPs and things like that along the way. So is there anything else from that? I mean, did you get them just because you needed the partner agreements, or I mean, did you learn stuff along the way? Do you think they've advanced your career? Would you do it again if you didn't have to?
Yeah, the first three I got were Cisco Certified Administrator, Cisco Certified Advanced Administrator, and VMware VCP. And I paid for those myself. That was a personal investment. I could not get a company, you know, in Northern Ireland back then. It wasn't as far along on the tech side of things as where it is now, which is bang up to date. So I paid for those and treated it as a personal investment in me. You know, any other guys going out to the pub, I was saving the money to pay for the certs. I think it stood by me very well. The first three, having those opened doors because I didn't have the degree. But nearly all of the rest of them were purely around partner requirements, you know, to get pricing discounts or maintaining partnership levels. The CCNP switch exam, though, that one I wanted for myself, actually. I didn't have to do that. I wanted to see could I do the switch exam, so that was a fun one. Yeah.
You said the first three were really kind of the ones you wanted and the ones that did drive your career forward, perhaps, right? Maybe open some doors. What were those first three certifications?
VCP, and then Citrix Certified Administrator and Certified Advanced Administrator. I haven't been so much near the Citrix side of things. I think maybe the last 5-6 years I've been working with Citrix teams, but I've been focusing on the platform. You know, I'll build the platform for you, you put the Citrix on top, that type of thing. Yeah, worked well.
Yeah. See, now when you say platform that way, now I'm thinking of like infrastructure, right?
Exactly, yeah. You need a good platform to build anything on, and you know, it's your foundation. You know, I don't know, it's just the way I think of it.
And that's how I view security. You have to have a good foundation when it comes to doing things, and it's mainly you have to know what bloody hell you have in the environment to be able to secure it. And asset management, configuration management, these don't sound sexy, but they're so often overlooked. So I think we're all on the same page there. Foundations. We talked a bit about the kind of schooling background, the experience background, the different careers. I wonder, has there ever been a situation where you were like, this is a really interesting learning experience? Maybe it was super positive. Maybe it was more of a mistake and you learned from it. But was there ever a situation that really stood out to you that you were like, okay, this is going to change how I don't know, pursue my career, I suppose?
Early days in joining Novosco, that same role, I could always network in the sense that, you know, I knew what a VLAN was. I knew what to ask the network team for, to say to roll out a VMware deployment for council or whatever. But I was never the person setting up the firewall, setting up the switches. And coming from places that had separate teams for that, you didn't get the exposure. Once I moved to Novosco, I was given the opportunity of, you know, here's a really large network, you know, across multiple countries, you know, 150 sites. Do you want to see if you can pick up the network in there? Because it was one of my customers that I managed other things for. And I took it. And it was just fantastic having, you know, a data center with 80 Cisco bits in it. Like, yeah, and you could jump through, build the maps, map it out in your head. And that did change everything. Learning networking changed everything.
You're speaking a language to me. I love that. Networking was my background and it's just so brilliant. I love it.
Yeah, when you get to play with technologies, in full ACP, ECMP, BGP, multi-wealth routed stuff, it's all highly available, multiple routes, taking decisions. I don't want to go into the tech, obviously, on this, but it's nice to see it done right, where there's no static routes anywhere. It's a proper dynamic network.
Mm-hmm.
It's fun when you get to play with stuff like that.
Yeah, that would be lovely.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and because I think, part of that, at least to me anyway, I didn't realize it at the time, but I mean, networks are inherently distributed systems, which is just a really fun, cool area to get exposed to and to work in. And so I think before there was a lot of, I mean, I don't know, at least I didn't see them. I think that there's a lot more now where if you're like working as a developer or DevOps, there's a lot of roles where we're looking at, systems oriented architectures and distributed systems. And a lot of the things that we've been doing in networking are now possible in straight up like application design and things like that. But that wasn't always the case. And so I think it's really interesting. There was like, people working on supercomputers and universities and stuff doing distributed systems work. And then there was networkers. And now it's kind of become more mainstream. But we didn't call it that at the time. We didn't think about it that way. But I think that's what's fascinating about it personally.
Yeah, for sure. DevOps is a funny one. It's come along and it's attracted people from both sides. Obviously DevOps is the bridge between developers and ops. And you've ops people upskilling on their scripting going into DevOps, and you have developers upskilling on ops. Somebody has to monitor this and maintain it. And it's produced an eclectic breed. There's such variety across DevOps people. But some of the things to do, small teams is phenomenal, small teams. I know of a cloud provider, the 44,000 ESXi hosts being managed by a team of 12. When you get people who are just that capable at scale, you can do some wondrous things.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I guess that kind of changing the topic slightly, because I'm very bad at staying on one topic. My brain doesn't think in straight lines. I was thinking of, actually, everybody on this call is a tech field delegate, aren't we?
Yeah.
We all are. So we all understand the value of community. But I'd love to hear your kind of experience as a delegate.
My experience as a delegate has been fantastic. Stephen has put together such a bunch of knowledgeable, nice people. And I love going to events like that. I love being part of, online communities. The tech field day experience, remote, obviously, during COVID, wasn't as fun. But when you go over and you go to an event, granted it takes you a day to get to Silicon Valley, but whenever you get there, it's just, it's amazing. He does everything. He picks you up, he brings you there, he feeds you, everything. It doesn't cost you a penny. And you get to listen to the top teams coming from all the vendors. You get to hear the latest and greatest. You get to challenge them on what they're saying, which is half the fun of it. And then you get to talk about it and discuss after with them, yourselves. The private conversations are fun. It's a brilliant experience. Such a resource. I used to use Tech Field Day for research for years before I got involved. I ended up getting invited in by a few mentioned it to me, and it's been brilliant. Yeah, absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, I love the community around it. So you get to speak to the techs, like the actual companies. You get to speak to the actual people making those changes, but also you get to speak to other people that are so much more impressive than me. And I don't know why I'm sat beside them, but I'm sat there like, I'm going to learn everything from just listening to you ask questions. I think that's just absolutely brilliant. That's what I love about it.
Same, for sure. Yeah, you know yourselves. It's a great community. It is. You can reach out and ask about anything, and there'll be a Tech Field Day delegate who'll just be able to tell you exactly how to do it. Because they've done it 10 times. It's help each other. It's good.
It's a really good community. Maybe you're not participating anymore, but I know you've been a part of the Veeam Vanguard community and the VMware vExpert community. I think it might be interesting, not everyone knows what those are. Maybe you could give us just a little snapshot of kind of what those communities are, and maybe even a little bit of like, how you got involved or why you'd be involved in one of those, vendor kind of based groups like that.
Okay. The Veeam Vanguards, I used to do a lot of backup systems as well. And I researched Veeam, got into Veeam, started talking to other people about Veeam, realized there was a bit of a community going on. Became a member of the Veeam User Group UK, chatting there with people. Turns out a few of those were Vanguards, and a couple of them made a recommendation for me to join the Vanguard program. And there was about 60, say, worldwide Vanguards. And that was just awesome. That's another fantastic community full of brilliant people. And, Veeam really engaged with them. They got us in front of the actual product developers. They flew us out to Prague. We got to ask Gustav and developers whatever questions we wanted. And you got a bit of inside track knowledge as well, under NDA, which helped because you knew what was coming 6-12 months down the line. It was a nice wee advantage for an architect. Yeah, just fantastic. On the VMware side, the VMware vExperts is what, about 1800? There was maybe 2000 now. And that was just VMware giving recognition around community contributions in VMware. Obviously, it had been the same on the Veeam, writing about it and talking about Veeam at events, that type of thing. So, yeah, it's the extensions of companies and their communities that will cover Veeam Vanguard and VMware vExpert.
Yeah, that point you made about, you get insights before other people. I've never been part of the Veeam community, but I am part of the Cisco Champion community. And one thing that I notice for me personally is I think that there's certain things that I get out of it, but I feel like there's more I could do, there's more I could do for that connectivity, and there's more I can make use of. So what would, I suppose, my thoughts to you are, what kind of advice would you give somebody that's kind of in that sort of a community to make the best use of it?
Engage with the other people in that community. You're sharing that experience. Engage with the people. It's all about the people. Communities are all about the people.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, 100%. Security is all about the people. It's just we're pretty rubbish at doing that.
Being people or security?
Well, we tend to blame people instead of, saying, oh, what do you need? Let me make your life easier. We tend to say, you're not listening to me. So I'll take that one.
It's because they're not listening to you. Fair.
No, but I feel like if they're not listening to me, that means I've failed along the route because I've clearly not listened to requirements per play. But no, I like that. Community is the most important. I think humans in general, we need community, we need collaboration. And if we want to be effective, we've got to bloody listen.
All right, that's a great note, but I'm afraid that's about all the time we have today. Thanks for joining us, Craig, and for sharing your story with the Imposter Syndrome Network. Much appreciated. To everyone out there listening, we know that your time and attention are the most valuable things that you have, and we really, really appreciate you spending them with us. Thank you. Don't forget to subscribe so you can catch the next episode when it comes out on Tuesday. And if you haven't already, please feel free to join us on LinkedIn. We have a group for conversations about all things related to our careers and lives in technology. But Craig, before we go, I do have one more question. If you could look back over, the past couple of decades, what would you change about your career so far if you could?
Learn networking sooner. Yeah, learning networking sooner. It adds a whole other dimension to everything you're doing in IT.
I love it. I mean, my background is as a network engineer, so I'll take that one as a personal win. But yeah, I think networking is pretty fundamental to everything we build on top of it. So it makes a lot of sense to me as well. Yeah. Are there any projects you're working on or involved in that the network should be aware of?
Yeah, I do some writing work. If you Google me, I'm trying to build upon some of the great connections made through Tech Field Day and work with other companies to help them launch products, raise awareness on services, that type of thing. So yeah, anything around the creative writing, yeah, it's exciting.
Cool. How can folks connect with you? Like Twitter handle, LinkedIn, where's the best place to come and find Craig? I'm
at Craig Rodgers MS on Twitter. My blog is craigrogers.co.uk, and you can find me on LinkedIn as Craig Rodgers.
Awesome. We will add links to the show notes so folks can find those things easily, and we'll be back next week. Okay, and you getting my sound's okay on your side?
Yeah,
Lily?
You sound good today.
Okay,
Not
good.
that you don't sound good other days,
Yeah.
sorry.